Do you want to be more successful in your relationships? Communication skills will teach you everything you need to know about communication, from body language and effective listening skills to verbal and nonverbal cues. Become the charismatic person you've always wanted to be and break down the barriers that separate you from others. Hello, this is Sebastian Clark, and you're listening to Communication Skills. Learn how to talk to anyone, read people like a book, develop charisma and persuasion, overcome anxiety, become a people person, and achieve relationship success. Provided to you by United Audiobooks. I hope you enjoyed my audiobook. Now, let us begin. Introduction. We speak to many people daily, but how much of our communication reaches the intended recipient as we hoped? Being effective communicators means exchanging information with clarity, empathy, and understanding. It's when two people exchange thoughts, ideas, opinions, and knowledge so the message is clear and understood. Effective communication requires clarity, correctness, completeness, conciseness, and compassion. Surveys show that businesses lose money due to poor communication skills. According to the Society for Human Resource Management studies, poor workplace communication is estimated to cost $37 billion, which translates to an average annual cost of $62.4 million per company and $420,000 for companies with 100,000 or more employees and 100 employees, respectively. Companies with great communicators have 50% higher returns to shareholders than companies with ineffective communicators. Effective communication is an essential skill in the workplace and at home. It ensures that your words are easily understandable and that you can successfully convey your thoughts without confusion. It increases productivity and eliminates the possibility of misunderstandings. I like to think of communication as a two-way process. It includes both how we send and receive messages. It also includes the reading or listening and decoding of messages. Think about it. How would you tell the other person what you want, need, or feel if you don't communicate? Here's the thing. Humans cannot read your mind. You must communicate your thoughts. Communication is essential to the success of humanity. Communication relies on tools like language and body language to expand understanding between people. Communication can happen in many ways, such as writing, speaking, and more. Communication skills include three types: verbal, nonverbal, and written. Verbal skills allow us to express ourselves to others and convey meaning through words. You must choose your words carefully, but you must also pay attention to how you talk and when you speak. Nonverbal skills involve sending messages without speaking via body language or physical movements. Facial expressions and body position hint at how a person feels without having to say anything. Our body language can reveal more than we think. It might show that we're not open to communicating with someone when we say, "I'm good." Written communication. In this era of digital communications, people's interactions are primarily written. Emails and chat messages take up the bulk of conversations, including personal emails and customer service chats. If you're managing a remote team, it's essential to consider your written communication skills. Effective communication skills are a prerequisite for a successful performance on both business and personal levels. Developing a process for communication helps you to understand better what a coworker is saying and will allow you to work with them more collaboratively. It helps us overcome diversity, create trust and respect, and offer the opportunity to share creative ideas and solve problems. That said, communication can be challenging at times because there's a chance of misunderstanding. This can lead to disappointment, frustration, or conflict with others. Strong communication skills will allow you to connect better with friends, colleagues, and your boss. In our personal life, communication can help us understand other people's viewpoints better. It also allows us to avoid conflicts, compromise, and make better decisions. Communication is a lost art that most people need to relearn. In this audiobook, we'll discuss the following: the basics of communication skills, the benefits of communication skills in the modern world, barriers to effective communication and how to overcome them, principles of communication, types of communication styles, how your communication type can affect your message, the art of active listening, constructive criticism, empathy, the power of storytelling, So what are you waiting for? Come with me, and let's unlearn poor communication and relearn effective communication skills. Chapter 1. What is effective communication? Effective communication involves exchanging ideas, thoughts, knowledge, and information with the receiver to meet the sender's intention. Communication takes place in any manner best understood by the receiver. This can be in simple words or complex sentences, as long as they are well understood. Communication is more than just delivering a message. When starting a message, it's important to have a clear purpose. The message should be easily understood and in no way complicated. The information communicated must be complete, clear, and accurate. If the communication is flawed in any way, it may lead to the wrong decisions. The sender must ensure he is conveying the right information and that both parties fully trust one another. What is sent should be concise so that it can be interpreted straightforwardly. Effective communication uses various mediums and settings to accommodate the receiver. Always keep the receiver's need at heart when drafting a message that respects their point of view, which takes practice and experience. The 3 pillars of communication. Ethos. This means ethics, which measures the speaker's reliability. It determines whether the audience will believe in and listen to what is being said. Pathos. This means empathy. Unlike sympathy, a passive state of sorrow, empathy is active and seeks to imagine oneself in the other person's place. Logos. This word means logic, which portrays the strength and power of one's thoughts. It shows the speaker's confidence in their thoughts and how well they are expressed to the audience. For effective communication, one should be credible, understand the feelings of their listeners, and present their ideas to the audience skillfully. We'll discuss some ground rules you should remember when communicating with others later in the audiobook. Benefits of communication skills. Build trust. Effective communication with others builds trust. Listening attentively and accepting diverse points of view shows that you're a leader who is making the optimal decision for everyone in the group. You set an example for those who look up to you, especially if they've never been in this environment. It would be best if you build trust with your team so that they feel confident in their ability to complete tasks in your absence. Conflict resolution. Conflicts can be resolved and prevented by communicating effectively. To do this, keep calm, listen to the other person's point of view, and find a solution that will work for everyone involved. Offer clarity and direction. Effective communication skills can help give teams clear expectations. It also helps ensure you provide feedback that will get people back on track if they have a bad day. They'll work out their roles and responsibilities and those of others on the team. This alleviates confusion and problems. Foster strong relationships. Communication is important in all aspects of life. Listening, considering, and responding to the perspective of others can help create stronger relationships. Increases engagement. Employees will have more confidence in their work, leading to better performance and higher quality of content. According to the most recent studies, only 15% of employees are engaged at work. This means they are very satisfied and committed. If communicated effectively, this statistic could be increased, which would significantly improve employee satisfaction. Improves productivity. Team members need to understand their roles, others' roles, and what's expected of them to avoid disputes. By effectively communicating with others, you can save time and minimize conflicts. These benefits contribute to more productivity in the workplace. Promotes team building. Team members who communicate well will be able to rely on one another. Team members will not feel like they have to do the work for the group. Improved division of labor will lead to positive feelings and improved morale. Improving communication skills is the best way to ensure your team has a good work experience. This makes people feel listened to and understood, which leads to better work environments. Barriers to effective communication. Language barriers. Language can be a barrier to communication. Differences in regional vernaculars, accents, and communicating quirks make messages harder to understand. Imagine being in a company where you always struggle to get your point across because of vocabulary differences. If you've been asked to think outside the box, do something that's never been done before, or be more creative, you're probably familiar with this frustration. Pay attention to frequent misunderstandings, disagreements about unclear messages, and the like. The trick is always to use clear and concise language and avoid figurative language, jargon, and slang. Use visual elements to illustrate important points in critical documents. Other tools like Grammarly Business can help improve the fluency of your writing too. Cultural barriers. Communication barriers often stem from differences in social norms and values. You'll be much more inclusive when you're aware of ethnocentrism or the assumption that all cultures share your values and beliefs. The key is to understand the different rules for etiquette in different cultures and self-educate on these cultural differences. You need to be aware of instances where you or your team may exhibit ethnocentric behavior or stereotypes or feel ostracized, which likely leads to people avoiding one another. To get past cultural barriers, consider implementing sensitivity training sessions and one-on-one meetings. Establish clear workplace etiquette and brand culture rules, but be open to changing them as your team evolves. Instilling a culture, whether at home or at work, builds camaraderie, creates unity, and breaks down cultural barriers. Physical barriers. Working remotely is becoming increasingly common, and people may find themselves thousands of miles away from the team. Without a strong connection, things such as communication can be limited and distractions will inevitably arise. Excessive tardiness in the workplace usually means a problem with demotivation or physical distractions. To address physical barriers to communication in the workplace, companies should keep up with the latest telecommunication technologies and provide employees with a comfortable environment. Also, offer private, closed offices for employees to collaborate or work without interruptions. The best strategy is to seat employees who work closely together in the same area. Psychological barriers. Conflicts are inevitable in any home or workplace, but they can cause serious problems when people's differing opinions clash. Differing communication styles will hinder a team's productivity. A lack of trust can make communication difficult. If employees feel unheard or unsupported, they'll struggle to excel. Watch out for a lack of employee feedback, an increased number of employees going on vacation, and a lack of collaboration between team members or teams. You overcome psychological barriers with training and resources or mandatory anti-harassment training. Create a trusting environment by attending team-building events and encourage open and honest communication. Technological barriers. Technological barriers to communication aren't always based on the tools themselves, but on whether the person using them has been adequately trained. To ensure success in using these technologies, it's important to regularly update your hardware and invest in the right communication tools. You should also build up your capacity by checking out training courses. For example, suppose you notice a frequent rate of technology failures, slow or poorly performing platforms, or misuse of technology due to a lack of understanding. In that case, this is a sign of a technological barrier to effective communication. One way to address technological barriers to communication in the workplace is by upgrading or replacing technology as needed. Other methods include training and resources for employees to use new technologies as they become available. You should use communication tools with multiple functions compatible with your existing structures and workflows to have a successful brand. Set up rules for when to use specific platforms in your style guide. Organizational barriers. Successful businesses need to be able to communicate effectively. Employees may not know how to share or request information. This could be because of organizational barriers within the business. Communication silos and bottlenecks are common symptoms of an organizational problem. It may be time to reevaluate the structure or clarify roles and expectations. When team members frequently contact the wrong individual for information, vital information gets lost or delayed. This is a sign of an organizational barrier to communication. One way to address organizational barriers is to create a clear organizational structure. This includes roles and contact information and ensures it's easily accessible and included in new hire orientations. Review any changes to how you communicate promptly, both in writing and in person. Periodically audit these changes and revise them as your organization evolves. That said, there is no one type of communication barrier that will affect every person or team in an organization. Every team will have different needs and experience various challenges when it comes to communicating. You must break through these barriers if you want to have long-term success. How you communicate can be improved by looking at more aspects of your personality and your situation. When you're speaking to someone, take a moment to think about what they might be feeling and how you might be making them feel. This is the first step in improving your relationships. Chapter 2. Principles of Effective Communication. Communication is essential in keeping the harmony of a relationship alive. Effective communication should have a clear purpose and be delivered in the right place at the right time with the right audience. If you're struggling to convey your message concisely, you should use short, punchy statements, diagrams, and images. With the right visual design, a company's message will be easy to absorb and bring people closer to making a decision. Not only that, but you also want your designs to help convey the type of messaging you're going for, along with strategy and brand guidelines. Your messages should focus on logical conclusions and a call to action. Similar to the need of active communication, you should consider incorporating implicit notifications that are high priority or essential. These would draw attention and be able to direct users' attention intuitively, without overwhelming them with irrelevant data. Comprehensive. When writing a message, it's important to make sure that everything necessary is included. What is necessary for one use could be unnecessary or not needed for another. It's crucial to make the recipient's experience easy. For example, if you ask for a call to action, provide explicit guidance on what that action should be. This helps make written communications more efficient and ensures that the critical points of your message are always communicated. Companies should provide enough information to their customers and deliver it efficiently and effectively to avoid confusion. There are cases where one cannot communicate everything in a single message. Therefore, if you have more to say, make sure you indicate it with a link to additional supporting information and when the appropriate time is to chat. Clarity. The purpose of a message should be clear, and the intended recipient should understand it in the way you want to convey it. This isn't easy, though, so get creative when being expressive with your words. Before you begin a conversation or email with someone, make sure that your goal or purpose is clear. Also, clarify the language, assumptions, and mechanics of communication. Sentences should be short and in the active voice, with key elements stated explicitly. It's important to spell out what the point is. Otherwise, nobody will be able to understand it. A sender's choice of words can make a big difference in how they're received. A speaker should be aware of their community's cultural and social norms and attempt to use words that are not offensive or hurtful. Attention and style. Communication is a problem for people with different levels of attention, behavior, and emotions. Different roles have different preferences in receiving messages. This makes it challenging to create one message that accommodates them. When communicating with senior staff, it's necessary to use the correct channels. If that doesn't seem to be happening, it might be better to revisit your methods. Communications that may seem informal can sometimes provide an idea of how people are responding to policies. Both types should follow the sentiments of your organization's business values and policies, generally positive, open, honest, and respectful. To make a message effective, attention needs to be drawn to it. People may have different feelings about messages and act differently based on what's said. The recipient should react accordingly. Coherency. Much of our communication takes place across multiple tools and formats. It's important to make sure that communication remains logical and well-planned, ensuring continuity in your message. For your communication to be considered, it must have a logical flow that is consistent and concise. It would be best if you also kept in mind tone and language when progressing through to ensure a coherent style. Make sure all your messages say the same thing without contradicting one another. Organizations should connect their messages to their company values and the context of company relationships. Communication should be consistent with the goals and initiatives for the organization's well-being. Timeliness and urgency. Messages must be communicated appropriately and have enough impact to be acted upon. You should be able to differentiate important things from non-important things and understand the time frame for any actions. Confidence that your message reaches your intended audience is a fundamental requirement in communication. However, this should be accompanied by an understanding of when specific actions need to happen based on a timescale. Chapter 3. Types of Communication Styles. Communication styles vary across different societies and cultures. Developing effective verbal or written communication comes down to knowing the right style. Below are the 8 major communication styles used in different situations to ensure your audience's message is heard and understood. Direct and indirect. A direct communication style is one where you speak your mind clearly and concisely so that other people understand. To be a direct communicator, you must use concise language and ideas, which might not be for everyone. When people employ a style that uses indirect communication, you may find it challenging to know what they are looking to achieve. The content of the conversation can be hard to decipher, even if they're not outright telling you what they need. Indirect communication often relies on subtle signs, which the person on the receiving end may misinterpret. Whether to use direct or indirect methods is a personal preference. The best way to get your message across may differ on different occasions. Assertive communication style. Assertive communication is healthy for you and allows you to speak more easily. It's a great way to promote yourself, maintain high self-esteem, and get what you want from the conversation. Assertiveness is a style of communication that makes you feel confident in responding to others without being pushed beyond your limits. Those who use an assertive communication style will prioritize their own opinions, rights, and needs while not hurting others on the way. They know how to express themselves and their emotions without judgment. When communicating assertively, you take responsibility for your choices and express your feelings. This type of communication will help bring a sense of acceptance around issues that may arise when two people communicate with one another in different ways. Body language is a valuable tool for understanding the person you're engaging with. It can help you be more assertive without being aggressive, which leaves your recipients feeling respected and heard. Aggressive communication style. An aggressive communication style involves winning at the expense of other people. People who employ this have a sense of entitlement and feel like their needs are more important than others. This is not a successful way of communicating because people will be more focused on the tone of your message than its content. Aggressive communication is often used to achieve a point in the short term. However, this is sometimes not a good way to go. People at risk for this type of communication are often seen as aggressive and rude, which intimidates others. Many people avoid confrontation because they fear being met with aggression. This leaves people feeling more hurt, humiliated, uncooperative, and afraid. This type of interaction can go on for a very long time until someone can walk away from the situation healthily. It's never a good idea to get into an argument with someone aggressive. They'll likely result in physical violence, and it may be hard for you to report any mistakes or problems made. Passive communication style. Passive communication is easygoing, people-pleasing, and submissive. People who communicate this way generally let more assertive or aggressive people take the lead. Passive communication is often courteous and amiable, although aggressive communicators may view it as easy to push around or disrespectful. Passive communicators are often overlooked by those around them who can't read their body language and facial expressions. This often leads to resentment and unhealthy codependency. It's essential to be assertive in your communication. Not only does it teach you how to advocate for yourself, but it also helps you to make clear decisions about what you want. However, if a client is temperamental or domineering, asking them politely can be the best option. Passive-aggressive communication style. A passive-aggressive communication style is an indicator of an individual with low power. Prisoners will use this strategy to take control and maintain themselves in situations where they are powerless. Passive-aggressive people often hide their feelings of powerlessness by subtly undermining the person or thing they resent. They may sabotage themselves unintentionally. Some people use cloying, clinging, and over-the-top gestures and words to get their desired power. These people are often hurtful and offensive to those around them. They're not worth the time or attention of others. Passive-aggressive personalities use a sweet voice that sounds kind to trick people into their trap. While it may seem that a toxic and aggressive person is effective, the results are often negligible in the long term. This can lead to resentment from those on the receiving end, negatively influencing their work and engagement in future iterations of an assignment or project. People will not believe in sincerity when doing business with you because they don't trust you. Manipulative communication style. People who use manipulative communication styles are skilled in manipulating others for their benefit. They have spoken words that hide the truth and know how to influence others without knowing what's going on. Manipulation often comes at a cost and can come at the expense of others. It should be used as an effective method when it benefits the majority instead of only one person. Manipulative people are exploitative and can make it hard to say no. They use emotions like guilt, fear, and pity to try and convince others of something. It can be challenging to know what type of personality is manipulative and which is not. This makes it hard for employees, particularly leaders, to manage their teams effectively and ensure that trust is established. The submissive style. People who use a submissive style seek to please others and avoid conflict. They'll put other people's needs ahead of theirs because they view others' needs as more important than their own. Their contribution will not be very high because they perceive that they're not being treated like others. They feel apologetic and are likely to yield and not speak up, even when they have something important they need to express. When you use a submissive style, others will often take advantage of you. You'll never be responsible for anything and blame others when something goes wrong. When resentment builds up, it can make it difficult to discuss your concerns openly with people. I hope you're enjoying my audiobook so far. It would be a pleasure if you could let me know how you're feeling about this audiobook in the comments section below. We would greatly appreciate it if you could also like this video and subscribe to United Audiobooks to have access to more best-selling audiobooks in the future. Also, if you're interested in getting more free audiobooks, please click the first link in the description below. Now, let us carry on with the next chapter. Chapter 4. How your communication type can affect your message. Communication styles are personal and vary with the speaker or writer. It's important to recognize the differences in each style because different styles are appropriate for different contexts. There are several types of styles that each provide a unique and personalized experience for you and your audience. What makes it most important for someone to create content as an influencer is to have a unique message tailored specifically for your audience to deliver the most effective result. Analytical. Analytical communication is about providing clarity and understanding to the world around you. If a message does not make sense, the receiver will not receive it well. You must understand your audience to connect with them and speak their language. Analytical people use logic and facts to support their arguments. They don't respond well to vague language. They believe that the more specific and in-depth the communication, the stronger it is. When connecting with an analytical colleague, be direct and specific. Analytical people may find small talk tedious, so stick to discussing what's most important, and the more evidence you provide, the more interested they will be. Write down your thoughts and ensure they are spelled and grammatically perfect before sending them. Avoid emotion in your communication. Your tone should be professional. Empathy is key to success, but you should focus more on data than emotions in this situation. Collaborative projects require people with different skill sets to work together to achieve goals. A brand campaign should be supported by an actionable plan that has specific metrics and goals so the success is measurable. Analytical communicators will rely on logic, facts, and numbers. They focus more on their point with less emotion and rely on hunches. However, they have almost always got the numbers at their fingertips. They approach problem-solving logically and can handle those questions they don't know how to solve by quickly finding out what they need to know. Functional. People who like to follow clear guidelines when doing something often have a functional communication style. It's not surprising that they share some qualities with analytical people. They are very particular about and task information if they are set up during the design process. It allows them to do their work at its best. When encountering someone who communicates this way, remember to be as thorough as you can so that you don't frustrate them. Preparing for a verbal exchange with written materials is important to communicate your ideas as clearly and precisely as possible. This could include writing and practicing both your verbal and written communication skills. It's important to encourage discourse and make your business's resources available to help. One way to achieve that is by being willing to answer questions. As a functional communicator, discussing any unexpected issues with your team is essential. If you've not been able to understand the matter thoroughly or need feedback related to your work product, you must express interest in hearing other perspectives. Intuitive. An intuitive communication style is one of the most important traits for someone who enjoys thinking creatively. They are most interested in the long-term vision of a project rather than data or minute details, which allows them to stay focused on the big picture. The most effective way to connect with a colleague is by providing a bird's-eye view of the issue. Intuitive individuals derive motivation from understanding the impact of their actions in the context of the bigger picture. Discuss only the critical issues for your team members to know about. Just because you can't cover everything doesn't mean you should over-explain anything. Nurture inspiration by providing space for new ideas and being empathetic to employees. That said, you can find an exemplary communicator by paying close attention to their approach and skill set. Creative and insightful communicators are an excellent match for your business, as they are open to exploring new opportunities, creative solutions, and ways of approaching problems. They are also less likely to get bored or overwhelmed by overly detailed tasks and have a knack for succinctly getting to the point. Personal. More often, this style is diplomatic and tactful. They often see things from a macro perspective, which helps them solve issues better. And just like other intuitive personalities, they focus on the big picture rather than being concerned with the small details. When communicating with someone who has a more intuitive style, we should make an effort to connect first. This will help us avoid some potential miscommunication. Whether you're emailing, tweeting, or even talking to a peer on the phone, you must use the right tone. Your tone reflects more than your personality. It helps drive your communication and could even significantly impact how people react to what you say. Use a tone detector so you know how you come across in written presentations. Providing context to support one's thoughts can help make a person feel more confident about their next decision. As a manager, it's important to want to provide feedback on your direct report's performance evaluation. Starting with a discussion of individual aspects of their performance and using a personal communicator will create space for an open discussion. If a person is emotionally open and expressive, they'll be an ideal candidate as a personal communicator. This can be identified by asking about their communication style, telling you their favorite type of conversation starters, and noting their reaction to others who share purely data-driven opinions. When meeting someone new, you might want a quick gauge of their communication style. Ask them what they're most interested in hearing, which will help you know how to interact with them. Analytical people are more likely to ask for data and figures. Intuitive people will ask questions about the objective of their work. Functional communication seeks to understand the process of a certain situation. Personal style is typically used to have more deep conversations. So, why does it matter to understand the different communication styles? Familiarizing yourself with different business communication styles will allow you to recognize how others want to connect to you. You can avoid conflicts and manage any difficulties that might arise in the workplace. It will also help you identify where your strengths lie and where they need improvement. Effective communication is the key to a fruitful workplace relationship. Clear and effective communication will ensure your message is understood the way you intended it to be, avoiding other misunderstandings and miscommunications. Chapter 5. The Art of Active Listening. Listening is a valuable skill to harness in today's world. It has become challenging for people to focus on conversations due to distractions that come from technology. Today, technology is enhancing communication even more than ever. However, this ability to use new technology can lead to decreased interpersonal skills and a higher demand for high-level communication skills. Listening is an essential life skill. In today's modern world, listening carefully is crucial for developing empathy for others and is also considered a necessity in the workplace when social dynamics are at play. To improve listening rates, people should practice conscious and mindful listening daily. The 3 levels of listening. Some people constantly multitask when they're engaged in a conversation or meeting. They can hear an employee as she speaks, but they also listen to their text messages or watch television simultaneously. This behavior makes it difficult for others to understand them and makes them seem rude. The 3 levels of listening are absent, partial, and full. They are often misunderstood, and people always use the wrong levels. Absent listening. There are several reasons for the lack of listening, especially when the speaker and listeners are on different wavelengths due to a lack of concentration and physical involvement. It's not easy to focus or listen to the conversation as it unfolds. Partial listening. Partial listening is when you hear most of the speaker's words with reduced attention and modest concentration. This can cause problems in identifying essential things the speaker says, leading to errors. You respond based on overall impressions without addressing the details mentioned by the speaker. Full listening is when two people are engaged in a conversation. Most or all of the information can be absorbed, and a reply to the other person is put out. This engagement requires your fullest attention, concentration, and good eye contact. Sometimes a person gets lost in their thoughts, and they don't realize it until they miss out on what someone else is saying. In addition, this can lead to miscommunication and misunderstanding, resulting in conflict or decreased productivity. Our brains are usually distracted by various things, making it difficult to focus and listen. Environmental barriers such as background noise, the distance between the speaker and the listener, poor seating arrangement, and interruption by unexpected events can make it challenging to communicate. Speaking too fast or using an incomprehensible accent is a significant barrier for people who are not native speakers of a language. Not objecting to what the speaker is saying and speaking without having a clear idea of what you are trying to say can also pose difficult obstacles for people not fluent in the language. There are internal barriers that could hinder listening to the speaker. For instance, if you can't put your full attention into what the speaker is saying, you're probably not going to be able to understand them. Additionally, if your mind drifts too far off in an unrelated direction, it may hurt your ability to listen and comprehend what's being said. When you have a preconceived idea and make assumptions about what the other person is saying without allowing them to elaborate, you are being defensive and are not truly listening. You may be unwilling to let someone else's opinion help shape your own. The experience filter allows one to project themselves onto another person to understand the situation even if their life experiences differ. This can be difficult, but it helps solve many people's interpersonal issues. A mood filter also helps you customize your responses to the other person's words. This helps you feel either positively or negatively affected and enables you to respond in a way that makes sense for the situation. Ways to improve our active listening skills. Pay attention. Listen to the person speaking. Give your undivided attention and be engaged with them. Suppose you're in a situation where you need a moment to finish preparing before the meeting begins. In that case, it's always intelligent to politely ask for a few minutes before shifting your attention. This shows that you care and are considered polite. Try to clear your mind before you have a conversation with someone else, and make sure not to let distractions or anything else get in the way. Focus on what the other person is trying to say and notice their body language and tone of their voice, even if they're subtle. Not all conversations are meant to be a fast switcheroo. Sometimes it's best to take note and digest what's being said before jumping back into the conversation. Withhold judgment. It's often thought that we judge somebody by how they speak, their different views, or not knowing them well enough when we meet them. It's important to be open-minded and understand what the other person has to say instead of imposing your interpretation of their opinion. In the long term, it will benefit you since you will become better at communicating and understanding different sides of an argument. Patience. Interrupting someone while they are speaking is rude. If you must say something, wait until they've finished their sentence so you can get a better understanding of what they meant. Learn to give up control and give the speaker as much time as needed to finish the conversation. Notice your conversation partner's physical cues and responses to context. Some common examples of these cues are when they lean back, put their hands up to signal that they're done talking, or when they end a question with an expected answer. After taking some time to think about the exchange, you may feel comfortable responding. Body language. Give confident, focused eye contact. This will communicate interest and ensure the other person stays engaged. Asking people questions can be a great way to keep the conversation going while staying cheerful, nodding, smiling, and maintaining eye contact. By following these 3 steps throughout the conversation, you can create a lot of rapport that will help the person you're talking to feel more engaged. Questions. I like what Tim Ferriss once said. The way you become world-class is by asking good questions. Questions are the best way to get information. They drive a conversation and help you get the answers you want. Be careful when asking closed or leading questions. They may not provide any real answers and might lead to inaction. Asking open-ended questions allows people to express themselves more freely and lead to richer discussions. Questions are always good when you're trying to gain information from others. Incorporating this skill in your daily conversations will lead to better dialogues and interactions with the people you speak to, which could lead to new insights for your business. Additionally, rephrasing what the other person has said lets you understand their point of view more clearly and provides reassurance that their feedback has been heard. You can use this strategy to refocus the conversation on a specific point you want to discuss more. Active listening is an important skill to forge interpersonal connections. By acting as a good, active listener, you can make friends and build trust with people around you. Start by deliberately practicing these techniques with everyone you meet. When you're engaged in conversation, pay close attention to what other people are saying and let them know how you feel. Chapter 6. Constructive Criticism. Getting used to receiving and offering feedback is important in a professional setting, but it can be difficult. However, getting comfortable with receiving criticism is fundamental for our professional development. Stop taking criticism personally. It would be best if you did not approach it as an attack on your character, but instead as an opportunity to improve. So, what is constructive criticism? Constructive criticism is a method people use to give feedback. The method creates a positive work environment and allows someone to feel safe. It also provides specific, actionable recommendations that help improve the situation and facilitate growth and progress. So, what is the difference between constructive and destructive criticism? Constructive criticism is usually delivered with care and support. It focuses on the positives and helps a person to improve. Destructive criticisms are typically hostile, vague, focused on the negative, and do not offer any encouragement or support for improvement. Often, they lower morale and reduce confidence. It's critical to provide feedback that identifies areas of improvement and ways to minimize mistakes. Such criticism provides the recipient with a concrete path for improving their work and an opportunity to resolve conflicts proactively. Benefits of constructive criticism. Offers specific and timely feedback. Feedback is always valuable. One success in the workplace can be a direct result of some quick actions taken in response to a specific piece of feedback. Constructive criticism is advising on a particular improvement. It comes with a positive intent of helping one improve their future performance. Promotes growth. Criticism that focuses on improving is more likely to provide people with the motivation they need to reach their full potential. Offering a different perspective allows employees to see themselves as well-rounded individuals who can reach new heights and achieve more than they initially thought possible. Builds trust. Criticism is a way of strengthening the relationship between people, e.g., employees and managers. When managers show that they appreciate the time and effort of their employees, it builds trust and a sense of belonging. It also creates a rewarding work environment for all involved. Good feedback can be painful. Criticism always has to sting, as it helps the recipient learn about their weaknesses and helps them get ahead. Employees will feel good about their work and be happy to apply the pointers from feedback. 4 elements of a constructive criticism. Specific. Be concise and direct when providing feedback to others. Avoid vague language and beating around the bush. Give people a specific instance rather than hypothetical scenarios. Outline the specific steps they can take to improve their performance. Help them with their feedback by role-playing and simplifying instructions. Timely. Providing feedback when it's most relevant is critical to ensure that the person you're giving feedback to understands where they went wrong and how to fix it. An immediate response to your feedback will allow the person who received it to associate with you. This increases the likelihood that they'll retain the feedback and improve their work. Positive. If someone is criticizing you, they generally have an ulterior motive. Listen to their concern and work toward a solution that considers their needs and wants. The best way to build self-esteem at work is to understand the needs of the employee and provide coaching as they develop their skills. Establish a time to review progress and revisit your agreement in a week or two. Understanding. Discuss with the employee the problem and how they could have found a workaround. Offer assistance if needed. Paying close attention to others' perspectives and ideas can go a long way in improving productivity. Your understanding can make the whole difference. Use it as an opportunity for growth. It would be best if you took time after constructive criticism to process the feedback. Reflecting is a valuable way to harness your employees' insights. It allows you to find ways to improve, what additional training they may need, and prompts thoughts about how you can keep them motivated. Staffs are the lifeblood of any business, so it's essential to ensure they're happy and satisfied. Plus, monthly Staff of the Month is also a good idea to relay other success stories and opportunities for more growth. When is it appropriate to use and why? Constructive criticism is more valuable in situations when there's been a violation of rules or if it's ineffectual. The key here is to provide follow-up guidance. The person being guided will change their behavior if they know what to change and how to make it. It's important to have conversations about discrepancies in behavior. This ensures that the person you're working with clearly understands how they should act. It also helps to avoid any negative consequences in the future. Why does it need to be constructive? When people are given constructive criticism, they can avoid negative feelings and promote trust because it provides a respectful way of delivering improvements in behavior. Constructive criticism can help to motivate employees and better engagement. On the other hand, non-constructive feedback can cause negative outcomes for employees. Poorly delivered feedback can cause even worse long-term effects, such as decreased motivation and engagement. Giving constructive criticism can boost morale and motivation. Focus on the future to get the most out of your criticism. Feedback should be focused on future performance and opportunities for growth. Punishments are not necessary when there's a focus on creating a successful team, which creates intrinsic motivation to strive for success. Examples of constructive criticism. In communication. Effective communication is often difficult when employees are afraid to ask questions or discuss concerns. To prevent employees from feeling restricted in their hard work, establish clear expectations that meet your needs and react favorably to amends from your staff. This will encourage strong communication and a sense of teamwork within the office. Let us consider an instance where an employee struggles to speak up about challenges in the office. How do you give them constructive criticism? Hi, John. I'd love to hear about your project so far. Do you have any questions or concerns? I want to help you where you might be facing challenges. Please keep me posted so I know the progress and what needs my help. In case of missed deadlines. When deadlines are missed, it can indicate a lack of organization or issues with time management. Discuss the missed deadline with your coworker and offer help where you can. You can say something like, "Hi, Mary. I appreciate your work's attention to detail and quality. I'm just concerned about a few missed deadlines that I noticed. Sometimes things move fast here, and I have some time management tricks you might want to consider. But before that, is there something specific causing these delays? I'll be happy to help you move things along." In collaborations. Collaboration is critical for team success. Through collaboration, employees can make a difference in their areas of expertise and grow their skills within the company. But how would you offer constructive feedback to an employee struggling to work in a team? "Hi, Patrick. Your resourcefulness and problem-solving skills are admirable, especially as you should see them as a gift. However, it would be best if you shared your expertise with others in the office who need it as a way of building capacity. This way, you can also have an opportunity to learn something valuable from your colleagues too. It would be nice if we set up weekly brainstorming sessions with the team." In performance appraisal. Performance evaluations are an opportunity to communicate with employees how they feel about their performance. By asking them specific questions, you give them a chance to improve areas you think need improvement. The best way for employers to get the most out of their employees is by soliciting their opinion on how they're doing and suggesting ways to improve. This will help them identify flaws in their performance and take steps to correct them. You could say, "Hi, Jane. You mentioned earlier that it takes you a bit longer to complete a project. Based on past projects, most of this time is spent troubleshooting and solving problems. I think this is what prolongs project turnaround. In future projects, would you try limiting troubleshooting to just an hour, after which you can escalate the issue for the rest of the team for help? This way, you can close projects much faster." Tips on how to give constructive criticism. The sandwich method. The sandwich method is a way of putting one positive criticism next to a different positive criticism to make them stick out more. Instead of criticizing the person, the sandwich method is used by some people as a way of complimenting. Here, the feedback is broken into 3 segments: positive, improvement, positive. Hence, it is also called the PIP method. At first, you'll need to pick out the things you like about the item. Next, you'll put those strengths into a more specific context by outlining why they're important, explaining why they work well within a specific event or situation, and then pointing out any opportunities for improvement. Finally, close off the feedback by reiterating what's been said and the positive results expected if the criticism is followed through. Constructive criticism is always better when you give it to someone after first telling them about their success. It's less confrontational and therefore more productive for both parties when the receiver can see what you're trying to do instead of being talked to in a "you're wrong" manner. Communication is the cornerstone of any relationship, and it's important to remember that to create a positive work environment, you must be able to share your concerns objectively. It would be best if you ended with a positive message by sharing more positives that your team could be proud of. The final statement will improve morale and leave others feeling uplifted rather than feeling like they've just been told what you think. Sometimes, the best way to help another person to understand is to give them a critique. Explain in detail what you pick out as a problematic issue, and then provide suggestions on how they can best address it. The feedback sandwich is most effective when used to avoid criticism and praise. The point of the feedback sandwich is not to engage in fake praise or butter up others. The feedback sandwich is a great way to practice emotional generosity. It can help the person learn what they're doing well and share what can be improved. Focus on the situation. When giving or receiving criticism, focus on the situation. This is not an opportunity to attack the other person. To eliminate the chances of miscommunications, be direct and avoid unnecessary passive hostile words. To make your feedback more effective, use I-centered language. Phrases like "I think," "I feel," and "I would like to add" will help the person receiving the feedback understand it's about the situation or behavior instead of you as a person. Be specific. When giving constructive criticism, be as specific as possible. One way is to list out the objections in detail and communicate those to your workers effectively. A vague comment is unclear, but when you're specific, it helps clarify. Implementing this method will help others understand what they're explicitly doing in their jobs and also be more productive than being lost and confused. You should make your focus points objective and not subjective while offering suggestions to your team. What you should do is provide key points of feedback and a clear call-out for clarity to make your point. This feedback loop helps others understand their work requirements better. It also gives them a sense of agency, allowing them to feel more in control of their work environment. Give recommendations on how to improve. As time goes on, you'll start to see what improvements need to be made. It's important to be selective in giving your employees tips for improvement so that things don't get misinterpreted. Be open to communication and listen to what your employees have to say. Do not assume. It would be best if you did not assume people's intentions are what they say. Instead, always try to observe your team members' reactions and ensure that their feedback does not upset them. Always make sure you're giving the other person the right advice. If you're unsure of the facts, it's best to refrain from providing suggestions until more information is gathered. Giving constructive criticism is not always easy, and recipients may struggle with receiving it. Leaders, managers, and employees must work together to produce the best result. Feedback is a necessary part of any relationship. Your employees must know how to improve their skills. It doesn't mean you're trying to harm their persona or show disrespect. So, how do you receive criticism? One way to accept constructive criticism is to take a deep breath and not to react in anger. It's not always easy to handle criticism, but you should always try to understand the person's motives and how they feel. It can help identify misunderstandings if you listen actively and be able to thank them for their efforts in helping you improve. Chapter 7. Empathy. Brands and content creators are turning to empathy as a theme of interest. They're trying to focus on the emotions of others and how they can better understand their pain. Organizations are starting to prioritize empathy in their communications more. Do you know why? Simple. Empathy starts with listening, the first step to successful engagement. Empathy is a process of understanding other people's perspectives, feeling what they feel, and sharing that with them. Our brains are wired to experience other people's emotions, which makes communication effective and relationships harmonious. Research shows that an empathic connection between coworkers leads to higher performance. This is because employees who feel listened to and understood perform better than their coworkers who do not have such connections. But is everyone naturally empathetic? No. Today we can empathize with others through an increasingly broad range of channels. Poor empathy skills are not just an individual issue, they can also indicate a larger cultural problem. Some people are good at understanding how other people feel, and others are not. Some people notice you're angry when you start yelling. Others understand your anger from the get-go. No matter the starting point, you can learn to be in tune with others and show your empathy in your day-to-day interactions. Here's what your empathy teaches us. To understand oneself. You have to understand and accept your feelings to understand the emotions of others, especially those who you interact with regularly. Understanding and accepting your feelings is essential to health and mental well-being. To understand others. You can learn to understand others by practicing. It requires your committal to thoughtfulness. By taking away the mystery and steps, it becomes easier to build relationships with people that are both personally fulfilling and lead you to greater recognition and success in your career and life as a whole. To master nonverbal communication. Understanding what someone else is feeling can be invaluable. To use verbal and nonverbal communication well, you must use empathy. This could help you determine when speaking up or promoting interaction is appropriate. Why exactly is empathy so important for us? We are social beings. It's impossible to get by in life without talking to other humans. The ability to read others' motives and emotions allows one to perceive how they want to be treated, and more importantly, what they need from you. It's also a great way to understand how others perceive them to make any necessary adjustments. Career and business growth. Building a good business relationship is about understanding your audience. To build trust, you must understand your audience's needs, wants, and expectations. Empathy is a process that makes everything healthy and organized. Whether you're trying to build trust-based marketing or create healthy cooperations with your colleagues, it will benefit everyone involved. A better understanding of nonverbal cues. Communication is more than words and can be challenging to understand at times. Understanding what someone means in a conversation is something that many people struggle with. People who have difficulty understanding others often have trouble reading between the lines of conversations and are more likely to miss essential discussions they do not hear. Better conflict resolution. When you understand the other party's needs, reaching a win-win situation becomes easier. You can avoid misunderstandings by blindly grasping for a solution and focusing on finding mutually beneficial solutions instead. Convinces and motivates others. When you can see the world from someone else's point of view and see their motives, feelings, and preconceptions, you'll find it much easier to convince others of your point of view and motivate them to do something. Different people across the world have different needs and motivations. It can be really easy to misjudge if you aren't ready for that, which is why empathy is important for understanding a given person quickly. Broadens your horizons. Empathy has been proven to help people understand the world holistically and live more fulfilling lives. It increases understanding of the world and provides valuable insight into how your actions can impact others. Empathy makes us human. We need to practice empathy in order to be successful, fulfilled humans. Barriers to empathic communication. Lack of skills. Empathy is something we can cultivate and develop like any other skill. That's how learning to empathize can help you master any skill. To master a skill, we need input from the people in our surroundings. When our family members don't ask for or value our opinion, it is difficult for us to communicate with them in the way we want. We may find more repeated efforts for them to be dismissive and ignore our feelings. Above all, this can make us feel adrift and hopeless due to a lack of empathy for them. When we grow up in such an environment, we easily slip into the same patterns when interacting with the people we work with. A lack of empathy can lead to problems in the workplace. It causes a lack of care for peers and teammates. It leads to difficulties in apologizing, being indifferent, and not listening to others. Lack of time. Lack of time is a common reason people cannot sustain meaningful relationships or perform high-quality work. Many struggle with juggling work and life responsibilities, which can be one of the biggest obstacles to a well-rounded life. Sometimes, the tasks we have to do can be too much for us and stress us out. When people feel overwhelmed and have difficulty prioritizing their needs, they may be disrespectful, rude, and indifferent. Lack of focus. Sometimes, during a conversation or project, we can be distracted and unable to focus on the task. This is because our attention is occasionally out of focus or on unnecessary things. It can be challenging to commit to the conversation or project when this happens entirely. Communication may get lost if the remote workers can't feel what the team member is saying. This may lead to a lack of empathy and understanding. Negative judgment. Negative judgments, bias, and stigma are old but damaging communication disruptors. When people are clouded by negative thoughts about a person or group of people, their ability to empathize and communicate with them is hindered. Even seemingly rational people may not recognize the potential for bias against outsiders when interacting with them. We may all have biases, but it's essential to realize that they should have minimal impact on our behavior and communications. Try looking for other ways to communicate your message without judgment, bias, or stigma. Anger. Sometimes we say things we don't mean and have difficulty maintaining high levels of empathy. But even in cases like these, it's difficult to communicate with our team members effectively. At times, anger is just an emotion that hides other feelings like hurt, fear, and shame. Communicating these emotions with empathy and honesty will lead to a more positive outcome for everyone involved. Tips for developing empathy in communication. Practice active listening. To develop empathy, it's essential to improve your listening skills. Listen closely to others during a conversation fully to understand their information. Avoid multitasking or letting your mind wander while you're with them. When we practice listening, we get information that allows us to collaborate better. Once they are done talking, summarize what the person said and then ask follow-up questions. This will help you make sure you understand their thoughts and can also be a nice gesture that shows your respect for them. Allowing others to express their opinions is effective because they'll likely share their insights and thoughts. Master different communication styles. People come in all different forms. Some are extroverted, some are introverted, while others find themselves somewhere in the middle. Understanding the different styles of those around you and adjusting your communication accordingly can improve your skills and make more productive conversations. Many introverts need one-on-one time interacting with others to avoid feeling drained or avoiding small talk. A more direct and less engaging approach may be an excellent way to start a conversation. Extroverts are energized in group settings as they'll often feel more comfortable discussing their thoughts before concluding. It's important to give them the space to share their insight. Instead of chastising them for being too chatty, encourage them to pause when talking to their quieter colleagues. You can also progress meetings by sharing an agenda ahead of time and letting everyone know about the upcoming topics. If coworkers feel left out of the group conversation, ensure you're aware of their communication preferences. Remember to encourage open discussion to help make everyone feel included. Evaluate your communication style. It's important to recognize the communication style of others, but it's also important to objectively assess how you communicate. You might think a coworker not close to you would not give an objective assessment, so having them describe their thoughts on your communication style might be insightful. Give honest feedback to people when you make them feel valued. The feedback will be most valuable if it makes the person feel how they want. Analyze your strengths and weaknesses. Discuss the areas where you need to improve and how you can do so. If someone says you're a great sounding board for complex problems, thank them for their compliment and take it as an opportunity to inform your team that your door is always open. If someone feels like you're rushing through a conversation to get back to your work, this could indicate that you need to work on your listening skills and avoid multitasking. Practice mindfulness. In difficult conversations, preparing beforehand can help the conversation go in a more productive and satisfying direction. We should avoid using scripts as they make our words appear impersonal and rehearsed. Instead, we should note some major points we want to cover, tailored to suit the personality type of the person receiving it. Follow up with the person you're speaking with to ensure they process the information and are comfortable doing so. If you think the person is upset, schedule a conversation for later when they'll be less emotionally charged. If someone is frustrated, try to reassure them that what they say makes sense and that you understand their feelings. This can help keep your emotions in check. It may be difficult to have a conversation with someone if we're hurt or angry. It's easy for our feelings to cloud our judgment, bringing out the worst in us. Taking a deep breath and resetting your emotions before jumping into solutions is important. Summarizing prompts someone to think that you've listened to them. It's not a question of whether you agree with somebody. The important part is showing that you heard what they said and realize the gravity of their statement. Admit when you are wrong. Even the most empathetic communicators sometimes make mistakes. When this happens, it's important to acknowledge the mistake, apologize for it, and then move forward from there. Successful communications between two parties relies on understanding each other's needs and meeting their expectations. The contributions of everyone involved should be showcased to show how valuable their work is and the project as a whole. This is effective in both group settings and one-on-one situations. Expressing emotion or fact can help you connect with someone more. Use the language your listeners are most familiar with. When you're calm and collected, it's easier to get past disagreements. Members of a team must utilize their differences and create synergy. To conclude, look for a common ground that everyone can agree on. This helps you diffuse any lingering tension and get back on track. Chapter 8. Nonverbal communication. Communication is more than just what we say. It's also how we act and other nonverbal cues. Over 80% of communication is nonverbal. The fact that people choose to use more nonverbal cues in their communications should be no surprise. Humans can communicate with one another efficiently and effectively through a language that is constantly changing. Despite the vast number of languages, humans share these nonverbal aspects that make communications easier. Nonverbal cues are an incredibly important part of any cultural exchange. Your body's nonverbal movements can send a different message than what your words are saying. Nonverbal communication is information that's passed without spoken or written words. It includes eye contact or the lack thereof, facial expressions, gestures, posture, personal appearance, and the physical environment. How is nonverbal communication important? It conveys interpersonal and emotional messages. Nonverbals are a big part of the communications process and usually happen unconsciously. They can convey happiness, anger, sadness, interest, curiosity, hurt, and so much more. It takes more than words to communicate properly. People cannot always control nonverbal cues, but they may be able to use them to their advantage. Body language could complement spoken words and lead to more effective interactions. Proper interpretation. Understanding nonverbal signs can be challenging to comprehend. It connects with different people and cultures so that each scenario's meaning might differ. As a result, nonverbal communication will only sometimes have a fixed meaning. Because we've been doing it since childhood, and it's gradually developed into an instinct, when you spot conflicting patterns, you learn to interpret them to avoid problems consciously. Misinterpretations can also bring to light other issues present in the interaction. Instinctive nature. Messages are only sometimes verbal and rely on something other than the spoken language if there is a conflict between two people. Observing nonverbal cues can be more reliable than what people might say in the heat of the moment. They provide a certain level of reliability that may be beneficial in these situations. It's not just the emotions that are innate. There are also nonverbal communications, like crying or laughing, that can be instinctive. Not only humans, but some animals have this kind of sensitivity too. Workplace efficiency. The use of appropriate nonverbal communication skills can ease the process of working in an office. It also helps when dealing with other people in interviews. Most professionals in various fields should be able to rely on this type of communication skill. Eye contact is one way to send signals to people and should be used effectively. Overconfidence can downplay a worker's credibility, and trustworthiness can show accuracy. Communication is important in the workplace, so it should be monitored carefully. Understanding. Almost everything you do and how others perceive you is based on your nonverbal behavior. When two modes of communication are similar, it increases the chances for a more excellent understanding of the messages being sent. To establish connection. Nonverbal communication is a great way to establish connection and trust. It's no accident that many cultures see physical gestures like a handshake or hug as necessary in certain personal interactions. To demonstrate authenticity. Your nonverbal communication goes a long way in establishing the authenticity of your feelings to those who you are speaking to. Complementing your actual words with direct eye contact and confident posture will demonstrate to others that you're giving voice to your true feelings. Effects of nonverbal communication. There are different effects of nonverbal communication. Repetition. Nonverbal signs are essential in generating emotional reactions when disciplining employees. When you see this type of physical reaction, it is generally a sign of how serious the situation is for that employee. Contradiction. Nonverbal communication can sometimes be a contradiction of verbal communication. For instance, when you ask someone, they say they're fine but show many signs of being sad or crying. Substitution. Nonverbal communications can often be better than words, especially contextual. Traffic signals also communicate important things without words. In games, barriers or walls will block you from progressing farther or lead you to an area that has been found and are used to indicate the goal of the game. Complementing. Nonverbal messages like expressions, gestures, and postures complement verbal signals. For example, when someone says they hurt, their face might also hold an expression of pain. Gestures can also add meaning to words and phrases with similar meanings. Accenting. Nonverbal communication can help clarify vague language. For instance, if you're talking to someone on the phone or meeting for lunch, it's a good idea to use signals that provide clues about what you're saying. Other people will become more aware of the points you want to be emphasized and why. Nonverbal communication is important in crucial situations, but its importance varies depending on the context and situation. With it, one could understand and succeed in specific communication scenarios. Sometimes, nonverbals can stand on their own, while others rely on the verbal ability to get a conversation going. Types of nonverbal communication. It usually consists of body language, anything from facial expressions to gestures or other body movements. Posture. Your body language is an important tool in communicating with other people. Your posture and how you hold your arms or hands can show different messages depending on what you're trying to convey. Sometimes fidgeting can signal impatience, so think about why you feel this way and take action if it seems appropriate. Eye contact. Eye contact is often a way for people to communicate more with someone. The longer the eye contact lasts, the more connected the two people feel. However, if eye contact feels too intense and you're wondering if it's becoming uncomfortable for your conversation partner, look away before they feel uncomfortable. Facial expressions. Some ways that your facial expressions can demonstrate how you feel or what you're thinking include smiling, frowning, and chuckling. Your facial expressions provide insight into your feelings or what's on your mind. For instance, furrowing your eyebrows can communicate many other emotions, from sadness and concern to anger and deep thought. Gestures. Gestures are also used for communication. You can use them to say something without saying anything at all. For example, you might point directions out to someone or use your hand gestures to communicate something else. Space. Spacing is a way to communicate feelings. When two people sit close together, it can show they're attracted to one another or are in a close relationship. If a person puts a lot of space between them and someone else, it might mean they're uncomfortable with the other person. Touch. Physical touch can communicate a myriad of emotions. It's possible to show compassion or empathy by giving or receiving a hug when someone is sad, and it's even possible to celebrate with someone by bestowing them with a high five. For instance, children in your charge may be hitting one another to show their frustration and anger with a situation or person. How to improve your nonverbal communication skills. Here are a few tips to improve body language in the office and outside of it. Communication is important in any social setting, so practicing good body language etiquette helps you and those around you. Practice, practice, practice. It can take time to get accurate feedback on your nonverbal communication. Communication experts recommend interacting with friends and family who can provide you with self-awareness in the context of conversations. When you practice speaking in front of a mirror, you'll be able to recognize your weaknesses and fix them. Communication skills are most effective when practiced in parallel. By mirroring the other individual, you can understand your body language and align your behavior to match theirs. It shows a sense of trust and confidence. Pay attention to your tone. Tone can be an effective way to amplify your message by conveying a range of emotions. The tone of your voice affects how others respond to you more than you may realize. Start noticing when your tone has a negative or positive effect on the conversation, and then change it to emphasize what you want to communicate. For example, an animated tone of voice can help people appreciate how much you care about something. This can bring a genuine interest in others and make the conversation more interesting. Use good eye contact. Eye contact is a nonverbal communication skill that conveys what's going on in your head. When people fail to look another person in the eye, they might be trying to hide something or show a lack of interest. On the other hand, too much eye contact can seem confrontational and intimidating. When someone's eye contact goes from light to intense, that may be a sign that they're uncomfortable or feel threatened. It's essential to take note of the person's nonverbal cues and have a back channel open for emergencies. Intervals of eye contact should last between 4 and 5 seconds. This comfortable length of time will create a natural feeling. Ask questions. It's always a good idea to ask questions when you need clarification on someone's nonverbal communication. If unsure of what the other person means, it's best to repeat your interpretation and ask for confirmation. Sometimes it's easier to ask, "Is this what you mean?" By asking follow-up questions, you can determine what a person's body language and tone of voice might mean. Use signals to add meaning. Vocal communication is a big part of how people understand and convey what they're saying. If your face, tone, and body language work together to show empathy and understanding, the other person will have a much easier time understanding what you have to say. Knowing how to send nonverbal signals is important. Communicating with them will give you more confidence and increase your chances of getting the accurate information you need from a meeting. You can strike a self-confident stance by standing firmly and keeping your shoulders back. Consider the context. Communication requires consideration of the situation and context of the communication. Miller advises always to consider culture when communicating with others. Some situations require more formal behavior, and depending on the culture, that behavior may be interpreted differently. Nonverbal behaviors are essential in every situation. We must be mindful of how we choose to use them in different contexts and the level of formality they indicate. When you work with colleagues, it's important to understand the context of the nonverbal signals used by coworkers to convey your messages effectively. Chapter 9. Teamwork. Great teamwork is the key to success. Having a positive and inclusive workplace culture can increase team morale and creativity. This can be done by being more flexible with the team to allow better integration of new members. But how does communication affect teamwork? Communication can be a boon or a bust for teamwork. Some factors lead to high levels of communication in the team or leadership, while others can lead to low concentration and poor quality conversations. Individuals can learn the art of communication by practicing with others one-on-one or online through groups. Companies are using technologies to communicate new possibilities for team members to be more expressive. Team members need to share their thoughts and original intentions to avoid confusion. Take time to communicate with your team. Everyone must be willing to do their part in a group project. Critical elements of a successful team. Communication. Strong teams have a strong foundation of communication. Team leaders can boost motivation and morale by ensuring everyone knows what's going on and focuses on the important things. Ensure your team understands the team objectives and their impact on their work. Be open to new ideas, discuss concerns, and listen to your employees. Everyone is committed to success, which brings a fantastic sense of pride and satisfaction. Plans. To execute a project successfully, you will have to break down the plan into individual assignments assigned to team members. Ensure that all team members clearly understand how the project is progressing and what needs to happen between meetings. If a company organizes its workforce in small units, each focused on a particular goal, the team will perform much better. Leaders should show their appreciation for their employees and ensure they are rewarded when they do well. Why communication is essential in a team. Promotes healthy working relationships. To connect with your coworkers, it's important to remember what you're working for. Employees are likely to be more productive in good moods, and happy teams can produce great projects. Successful employees need to feel welcome and valued in their workplace. Work relationships are strengthened when people feel like they have someone on their side who understands them and supports them. In a distributed team environment, individuals may lack individual social validation. This can lead to poor relationships across the board. A positive and well-oiled team must have regular bonding activities to keep internal communications flowing. Companies should use digital methods to build a strong and enduring adherence to the rules of their company culture. Promotes employee engagement. To improve engagement, it's crucial to have your company's communications practices clearly explained to employees. Communication is a key part of effective teamwork. Open communication in the workplace can reduce employee doubts and inspire creativity, leading to better work and improved morale for everyone. Internal team communication creates a sense of belonging in the workplace and helps keep employees satisfied. Improves well-being. Organizations need to provide employees with a healthy work environment to increase productivity. The loss of direct interactions with team members can be a factor in the loss of productivity in the workplace. This is a problem that needs to be addressed as soon as possible. Remote employees are adapting to the new work environment. However, this shift has created stress and anxiety as they don't communicate with their team members in person. Sharing concerns can help employees feel better and more empathetic. An excellent remote communication system can be a big help in this area. Encourage innovation. A diverse workplace has people from different backgrounds and ethnicities, who all have different experiences that help them to understand the problem. Businesses need to have a culture of openness where employees offer input and feedback to make decisions. This allows companies to innovate and make the most of their time. Organizations that use open communication are more innovative than those that do not. Enhances transparency. In a team environment, information sharing is encouraged, and positive relationships are built by fostering transparency. Working with different people creates new ideas, leading to better work and innovation. Communication is key for a smooth workflow. Transparency can help with knowing what to do and being more open in your conversation. To build better teams, we need a level of communication that is clear and transparent. By having this important step, we bring about productivity for the company as a whole. How to improve communication skills. Some people communicate using different rules and guidelines than others. It is essential to understand the person you are communicating with so you know their preferences and can work with them to achieve your goals. Here's what you can do. Resolve conflicts quickly. Workplace conflicts can get out of hand. They start small, but over time they grow and lead to different problems. Sometimes the best thing to do is to talk with that person causing an issue and find a way to resolve it, but always keep in mind that there are always solutions. Team members need to resolve their conflicts quickly to maintain tension and productivity. Conflict resolution is an important skill set for any team member, regardless of size. If your team members can learn how to handle conflict quickly and respectfully, These problems will only escalate into larger problems that can take more time and effort to resolve. Encourage engagement. Everyone needs guidance to be productive, but managers should also provide a sense of creative freedom for their team members. This will lead to greater engagement with the project. Ensure team members feel valued by asking for their ideas and supporting them in meetings. Weekly meetings allow for everyone to be on the same page, ask questions, and get feedback about what's going on with their projects. Promote bottom-up communication. There is still a struggle for voice acceptance for the lower team members. Teams that promote bottom-up communications see increased engagement from their entire team. It's important to have a sense of ownership among team members to create a culture where they'll go above and beyond. One way to help team members feel comfortable sharing their ideas is to ask for feedback. Encourage group discussion by hosting a variety of interactions with your team members. You can also meet in a specific place and formalize the process with a suggestion box. Strive for transparency. Open and transparent communication is vital in a communicative workplace. It removes any misunderstandings between team members and reduces the chance of miscommunication, which can be risky. Knowing how to handle employee feedback can be challenging, but being honest and open-minded is an excellent way to manage the process. A motivating leader creates a team that bonds over shared goals. When team members work toward the same goal, they feel like valuable group members and work harder to achieve it. It's essential to have transparency with your team members about important company goals, such as revenue, but you don't need to share personal details if they're not pertinent publicly. Personal issues happen regularly and can be shared as they are appropriate. Schedule one-on-one meetings. Team members talking to each other helps them integrate their thoughts, allowing them to bring the energy from each experience back to the group. It's important to offer your team members regular meetings so they feel comfortable communicating with you and developing as individuals. One-on-one meetings also allow you to address issues or concerns in the workplace and check in on the well-being of your team members. Building relationships with your team members is critical. It allows you to collaborate, brainstorm creatively, and lead more effectively. It can be hard to bring up a serious subject with your team members. If someone seems depressed, is struggling emotionally, or needs time off to care for themselves or other family members, take them aside and discuss it with them. Provide consistent feedback. Giving feedback is important during a meeting. It keeps team members motivated, engaged, and learning from each other's actions. One-on-one meetings are the best place to discuss performance feedback and what team members can work on. Consider distributing an anonymous survey to get honest opinions from your team members about your performance as a team leader. Know your team's communication styles. Many people have complex personalities, and one way to get everyone on the same page is to understand their different communication styles. By understanding these styles, you can better identify what motivates each person on your team and tailor your communications accordingly. Dominant. Team members with a dominant communication style are highly competitive, highly motivated, and confident in their abilities. However, their impatience and confidence can get in the way of team dynamics. You should implement some gentle yet powerful techniques when motivating your team members. You can make their day by challenging them with big-picture questions pertinent to your company's mission, and remind them of the importance of sticking together in times of conflict. Influencer. Team members with highly effective influencer communication styles have the skills to handle complex customer and client interactions because they are charismatic and engaging. There are a few ways to keep influencer team members from losing focus of the project and becoming too distracted, including giving them tasks that fit their skill set. Encouraging them to express themselves in their role while making sure they aren't a distraction can also help retain their enthusiasm for the project. Conscientious. Some team members are more likely to be conscientious than others. These team members work hard, produce error-free work, and are willing to go out of their way to grow their knowledge. Since these team members tend to communicate well and be able to identify when communication could be running better, it's best to give them only a little responsibility, but instead just let them work on what they're good at. Outline clear guidelines for proper workplace communications and provide a transparent experience for all stakeholders. Steady. Stable team members want to work in a consistent environment where their work is valued. However, more popular members may feel they can only be in one place for a short period and might not enjoy a relaxed environment. A more traditional workplace might be a better fit for stable team members who prefer consistency, and allowing team members to be set in their roles and providing them with a stable environment is key to having an effective workforce. When there are changes in the workplace, it's important to allow team members to adapt while keeping their skill sets and knowledge up to date. Communication is essential to fostering a successful work team. It directly influences and affects others, so an organization must prioritize and give employees opportunities to connect. Encouraging healthy conversations between employees and addressing issues that arise are important pieces in the success story of any company. Ensure that you take the time to gather opinions and feedback from your coworkers and create a shared language amongst your team and collaborate with others. Establishing clear work standards and communication strategies is essential to facilitate a thriving culture. Chapter 10. Storytelling. The world of public relations and marketing is all about effective communication, conveying information in a way your audience perceives as emotional. We know that to engage your audience, you have to work with them to strike a chord, one powerful enough to create an emotional response. Humans have a natural affinity for stories, which is the most effective way to engage an audience. Think about it. How many stories do you watch on your screen daily? When watching your favorite YouTube channel, how many ads come on between? Do they tell a story? I bet they do. Have you ever wondered why? Humans have used stories for centuries to express themselves, reflect on their feelings, and connect. Stories are powerful when communicating values, defining your personal experience or identity, and persuading people. Public relations, communication, and marketing professionals can use stories to help them achieve their goals. Stories can be used to persuade or build trust between parties. The reason perspectives become widely accepted is that they are presented in a personal narrative that's easy to digest. Companies are utilizing storytelling more nowadays to connect with the public, influence their behavior, and motivate change. Why is storytelling important in communication? Stories are a versatile vehicle for companies to communicate their message. The use of storytelling in a product helps the recipient remember the product better, and they become more likely to trust that product. A storytelling approach is a great way to express your culture and personality. By doing this, you can convey your brand's unique culture to external stakeholders. Companies that have clear, concise values and goals for their brand will be able to create a more robust culture and identity for themselves. Storytelling is an effective tool for business communication. It allows for a connection between the company, management, and its customer, creating a more cohesive vision of the company. When they resonate with listeners, they give them a sense of being part of the story and company. In addition, stakeholders get a good reason to be invested in the company's future. How to create a compelling story. One factor to remember is that stories are not just about information. They're about emotions and experiences too. Humans have been telling stories for thousands of years and do so every day. But how they tell those stories can change a lot. A problem statement and solution. A setback might happen when you attempt to make a significant change in your life, or when your confidence is shaken. There are good heroes in stories because they keep going despite the hard times, and are great visionaries who take action before it's too late. When a resolution happens, it usually comes with thrilling and satisfying moments for audiences. Tap into emotions. Emotions make stories powerful. Your listeners need to see what you're talking about. Descriptions of people, challenges, and benefits can help bring a story to life. Keep it simple. Storytelling should be simple to understand. You'll want to keep your writing relatable so your audience can put themselves in the character's shoes. Make it relatable. To engage your audience, you should relate your story to themselves. Writing about how the challenge changed your way of thinking or how it shaped the outcome will make readers more interested in what you have to say. Your audience will identify with the challenges presented in your article. Using relatable examples, you create an article your readers can easily relate to. Storytelling is valuable to the success of a company's communications. It builds trust with audiences because the company puts them first, and it's essential for a brand to have its narrative. A compelling story does not have some magical quality that makes it different from any other story. The author's job is to ensure the audience stays focused on their message. To be an influential communicator, you need to know how to use words, images, vocal inflections, and diverse media content that engages the audience. How to be a great storyteller. Know your target audience. Identifying what your audience wants is key in determining how you can be successful. Being able to measure the success of your message will allow for adjustments in the future. These are both skills that communicators should be able to acquire and use in their jobs. For example, when advertising for a car brand like Toyota, the choice of the car model in the story may differ based on the demographic group you're targeting. If you're successful at answering their questions, you'll know how to write a story that's more effective and has a better chance of hooking your audience. You'll also know what type of reaction they might give. Be truthful. To stay true to your brand and vision, it's essential to maintain a sense of consistency and avoid shifting from the core message. If a story is being told about your company, stay true to that. Otherwise, it can turn people off and you may miss out on good PR. Go with a character your audience can relate to. Brand advertising relies heavily on characters. They are used to establish a connection and generate feelings toward an advertisement that would not be possible with text and visuals alone. Learn from successful examples, but be authentic. Storytelling can provide a great source of inspiration for your brand. You don't want to copy and paste your company's story. Instead, find a way to incorporate lessons from an inspiring story into yours. With the new trends in the market and successful examples out there, it's essential to stay up to date to find your voice. Pay attention to your channel of communication. The type of platform you are storytelling on can greatly impact how much engagement you get. Nowadays, the digital age has brought with it new tools for storytelling. Individuals, organizations, and companies must be familiar with these platforms to tell their stories effectively. Conclusion. Communication is the foundation for a solid and successful work relationship. Communicating effectively with others, facing vulnerability, and acknowledging personal responsibility are essential. Developing skills in effective communication is important for both personal and professional reasons. Effective communication starts with a contemplation of one's goals, then preparation, followed by an exchange of information. It's important to be able to communicate in a variety of ways. Skills like vocal communication, written communication, and visual communication are vital in the workplace. Asking the right questions can lead to a better understanding of another person's thinking, which translates into a more productive workday. Get in touch with your communication skills and witness the positive results for your short-term and long-term goals. It's very important to be a good listener and practice active listening. This can help you better understand what others are saying so that you can respond to output with greater clarity. Keep your message direct and concise. Avoid using filler words and get straight to the point. Using excessive words, pacing, or speech, this person may tune out or not understand what you're talking about. Body language is a meaningful way to show others you're confident and friendly. It's important to keep your body language open and to invite. Your tone warm and friendly, and maintain eye contact with those around you. It can also help to watch for the tone of voice when you talk. An abrupt tone could turn someone off nearby, while a calm one opens people. Eye contact can help establish trust and make the other person feel comfortable, but it's important to ensure that you're not making another person uncomfortable by staring. Being confident in your communication can be as easy as keeping a positive mindset, maintaining eye contact, having a calm demeanor, and speaking conclusively. Try not to make statements sound like questions or aggressive or demeaning. Regarding disagreements, it's important to remember that both parties often come from their perspective. It's best not to make assumptions. Instead, be respectful of others. Being respectful is an important aspect of communication. It can be as simple as paying attention to what someone says, using their name, and not being distracted. People will feel like their opinions matter and appreciate the other person more because of it. There you have it. All you need to know to be a professional communicator. So what are you waiting for? It's time to put these tips into practice. Remember, practice makes perfect.
We appreciate you tuning in to one of our captivating audiobooks. For more immersive experiences, here is another audiobook we're certain you'll enjoy. Don't forget to show your support by liking this video, sharing what you loved about this audiobook in the comments section below, and subscribing for more captivating audiobooks like this. Thanks for being a part of our audiobook community.